recorded screen issues. But I hope everyone's having a good evening. And I hope everyone had a good Thursday and a good Friday so far. It's 8:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is CptWoozle. For those who are interested, thank you again for attending and coming to hang out with me this Friday evening on one of my many projects. For this particular one, this is an implementation of a trading journal written in nestjs with a MySQL database, and it's going to be React on the front end. Give me a second. Let me close a few windows over here. So far, what we've done is created the majority of the endpoints, as you can see here. In our back end, we have our source here. We have the majority of the back end. We have our broker endpoints, database pieces, the pieces that reach out to third-party API to get things back. And at this particular point, what I'm working on is the authorization, the refresh token. So kind of based upon the principle of the following, that what we're going to do is every so often, if a user is not active, and this is what other people, like I've seen companies that don't have a refresh token that just after a while nothing happens. But a refresh token simply means that what it'll do is every so often the front end will reach out to the back end, and what it'll do is before it makes a request, it will verify that the refresh token hasn't expired. If the refresh token has expired, then it will make a request to get the refresh token. And it's actually, it will pass back the expiration date, the expiration time for the refresh token, for the token, and if the token has expired, will request a new token by sending back the refresh token, and it'll send both the token and the refresh token. So when we generate this, the refresh token lasts for, we'll say 2 weeks. 1 day is when the refresh token, refresh payload will be the user's email, and then we created a refresh secret, and the express one is going to be process.environment. I think I called it refresh expiration. And give me a second. I'm going to actually verify that in another window. I try to keep my environmental variables off screen for security reasons. So let's take a look at that. Let's go to our code folder. Let's go to our option tracker. And I might end up rewriting this entire thing in C# for the back end rather than continue to use Nest. Though I don't have anything wrong with Nest, I do think that sometimes, I called you refresh expiration. Though I don't think there's anything wrong with Nest per se. I think the question is about scalability. So let's do 1 day. We have all of that. Cool. So we'll take our refresh token and send it back up with the refresh token. And when we do that, const expiration, let's look at some behaviors there. JS and 2 hours to date. Yep, there we go. Add hours with pure JavaScript. Let's see. To a date, new date. There's a whole bunch of different approaches. But that's 2009. Let's see if there's a new version. Date.getHours plus some hours. Yep, this one I think is the best. So what we're going to do is current date is going to be equal to, and you could actually probably put this in its own separate function rather than putting it here, is going to be new date. We'll get it now and we'll base upon Eastern Standard Time. And we could potentially keep it the expiration date. So before we do that, we'll say that the current date dot set hours is going to be the current date dot get hours plus 2. And then aside from that, we'll send back the, we'll actually call this, instead of current date, we'll call it expiration date. And we'll say expiration date. Cool. I don't think when a person logs in, we generate, cool. So this will send back our refresh token on the front end, and that should be it. So we'll send back, and then on the auth side, we might move our generate JWT token into a universal function. Yeah, let's move it into more of a universal function. That way we could use it in the auth module. So then we have our service here, our controller. Let's go ahead and take a look. And then we'll need more unit tests. But then I think we'll pretty much be ready for the front end. There's a lot of it to implement on the front end, but let's open up everything. Let's look, controller, auth, export, class, auth controller, private, read only, auth service, auth service, cool. And we'll use guards again. Is there, well, it's going to be expired. So, and what you're going to do is do a post request. So we'll import post, HTTP code, HTTP status dot OK, and I guess we don't want to do a lot of back and forth and back and forth. We want to be like, we don't want to say things like verify that it's a good token, and then if it's not a good token, then do another thing. Like we will, but like we don't need to go back and forth and back and forth. We can have the front end do some of the legwork. So let's go ahead and do just an endpoint called refresh token, and we're gonna send back the full request. No, we're just gonna send back a body, and the body is just gonna be back is the refresh token. And yep, I mean that's fine. And the token we're going to send back is a new file, and we're going to send back in refresh token model .ts, export clash refresh token model, and and it's just going to consist of a refresh token as a string. Refresh token, type refresh token. And right now you're done sending back anything, and you're going to return this .auth service .refresh token. At this particular point, we can't authorize them, so we won't have that information. We won't know the user ID, but I don't know if we really care. We just want a valid token, and then they can, well, hold on a second. Actually, let's change our payload. Let's change our payload for this. Let's add both. Let's do user ID and the user email. And you're going to pass along our refresh token. We'll just rename you to token, of type refresh token. And we'll say get new refresh token. And the endpoint will be get new refresh token. Cool. There's nothing else to really include in here. It won't have a guard. And what it will do is, let's go ahead and create the service. Let's adjust the module. Let's add you in. And then let's create our service. And I guess we can test this as well. But I don't know. I think I might just, yeah, I'll add in unit tests. Injectable export class auth service constructor. There's no model for this one because there isn't anything to model. And the only thing we're going to do is create this refresh token. Yep, nope. Async refresh token. Token of type refresh token. Cool. And you're going to return a very specific model of the JWT and the refresh token. So under auth, you're going to return an updated refresh token .model.ts export class updated refresh token. It's going to consist of a JWT string and a refresh token string and an expiration date. But let's make sure that it matches with the other thing. So JWT refresh token and token expiration. Yep. Nope. Wrong thing. Auth controller update. There it is. These things right here. And it's these three things. Constructor, user. Oh yeah. So we want the JWT, the refresh token. We're not actually going to pass along the email and the user ID. That should already be there. So, yep, there we go. And you're going to get back the promise of a updated refresh token. Import. You're going to return a promise of that. You're also going to return a promise of that. Let's do the following things. We'll kind of pseudocode this out. get the refresh token, verify the refresh token, validate the user ID and email exists. Create new JWT token, create new refresh token. So to steal from what we've already done, let's come over here and import this so it stops being red. That just red annoys me. Okay, so when a person goes to log in, we need the auth guard. Controller auth guard. Yep, here we go. We need to attach, I forgot that if it's public, we need to make sure that the controller knows that it's public. So we need to say at public over here in the auth controller. Post. There we go. Now where were we? In the auth guards. If it's not public, we're not going to extract from the header. They're just going to send it to us. So on our service level, const refresh token is going to be equal to token.refresh token. So we have our token. Verify it. We'll do this const payload. It's going to be equal to the same thing. So we'll do await this.service. Verify async. And in this one, it's not called, let's reopen that file. It's going to use the refresh secret. And I forgot we need to create this JWT service up here. So private constructor JWT. Let's double check JWT service. And that means, I think, in our auth guards, I don't think we need anything else. Nope, I think we're good. So we'll get the payload. Validate the user const user ID is equal to payload dot. Did I call you user ID? Let's double check, and we'll test this out too. Payload. It's going to be user email and user ID. Is payload dot user email. So we'll question mark these just in case. If no user ID or no user email, we're going to nip that in the bud real quick. Let's throw an exception error. Oh yeah, we need to make sure that in our request models we say we can't allow for empty. So in our model, yeah, it can't be an empty. So we'll mimic it here. Can't be empty. So we take that token, put you here and use you. And we verify this. Make sure the user exists so that it's not something that somebody has just put in. Const found user is going to be equal to this dot user model dot find one, and we'll have a where clause. We need a user model, so let's come back over here to our user service over here. That service, and we need a new user. So we need to add inject model user into our constructor, and then private read-only type of user. But I think that means that in our auth module, we need to, don't remember all the time. I think we do it in the, yep, there it is, exchanges model. So we come over here to exchanges. Yep. So if we come back over here to model, we allow for it, and then in our service we don't need to inject the model. Or do we? Yeah, so let's keep this kind of straightforward. Let's not allow people to directly access the models. Let's keep it all on the service layer. So let's come back over here to our user service, and we have a create, delete, get. This is the user profile. Look at me being terrible. On our user service, get from exchange, get exchange from exchange code, get all refresh docs. This doesn't seem right. There it is. It's over on the left. Login, register, async, get user based upon an auth user type, auth user, and it's going to return a promise of a limited user. And so we'll come over here and we'll create a new file. We'll call you the auth user. Hold on a second. I gotta remember. Sometimes I get really weird with my naming schemes, and I should be careful about that. Sometimes I use capitalize, and then the other times I don't. I should go back and clean up some of these. But let's call you the auth user.model.ts. And the auth user export class auth user is going to be, let's see, fresh token model. Yep, can't be empty, and will allow for a user ID and a user email. Neither one of them can be empty. And then we'll create what we call a limited user. And we could probably build off of existing things if we wanted to, and I think that's something that I'll think about refactoring later. We'll call this a limited user dot model dot class model.ts. Where am I calling it? Dot class. Auth user model. Limited user, and the limited user is just going to consist of export class limited user, and we're just going to send back the user ID and the email, and I guess it would be empty otherwise. So that's really all we need to do, and we really only need, you don't even need to send back that. We really want to send back whether it's valid or not, which is a Boolean. And I don't even think we need the limited user. Let's not. We're just going to send back a true or a false. User service. Where was I? Promise of a Boolean. And we'll put our traditional try in here. Catch. And this, for this one, we actually do want a very specific thing. We don't want to just do a user find one where we pass in the other things. We either want to return, and because we don't want to let people keep trying this, return false. And we'll log E if we want to. Auth user. Import you. Try. Const found user is going to be equal to await this dot user model dot find one, where let's do email is equal to auth user dot user email. And let's see. No, none of you. None of you. None of you. Do I only do one find one? No. Yeah, there it is. Do a lot of find ones and find alls. There it is. Where I don't do very many where there's multiple wheres. Let's take a look. Sequelize where multiple values. I think it's pretty simple though. I think it's just where, and then you just allow for multiple values. Where it always seems so much more complex when people, someone else does it. Where, and it's got to be an and. Where and it's probably because of this. If scene 3 where it's an or. Why is it that I type in very specific things and it just doesn't come up? You're like, hey, show me, where and then it's like, no. Create, select, where, attributes, count, find all. Okay, all right. Exclude where clauses. Okay. Yeah, so we just have to pass in a second parameter. So in this particular one, where email is this, and I believe I did user ID is equal to auth user dot user ID. If and return Boolean of found user. So this will create our get user, get auth user, which is very specific. And over here in our auth service, we're not going to inject user. We're going to do similar to what we did over here in the Exchange stock service, where we did a read only of the services. I'm going to put you somewhere else so that it's not still around, just not on this screen. So we need to add in the module. So let's go look. The auth module. The auth module that we need to, let's come back over here to the stock module. Pull you out too. So where was I? Oh, yes. The auth service. So in our auth module, similar to this, we need to bring in the user. Yeah. Exports, imports. We need to bring in the user module. So we'll bring in the user module. And then on the service layer, we need to do a private read only of the user service. Yeah. User service of type user service. And that way we won't directly access the database from here. We'll keep it all on the service level and have the services do the work for us. And I don't have it returning and updated. So what we'll do instead of this, now that we know we have the user ID and the user email, is found user will be that, and what we will simply say is going to be equal to an await of this dot user service dot get auth user, and we're going to pass in a user ID and a user email. And that will tell us whether or not we found the user, make sure the user exists. And all we're going to do is we're just going to verify that they're a real person in the database. We don't actually want to send any user information back in case someone sends something, in case it's somebody who's potentially trying to hack. We actually want to say something nice. We can just say unauthorized. Make sure the user exists. If no found user, so somebody managed to spoof let's say a refresh token, and they put in a user ID and an email, but that user ID and the email doesn't actually exist in our system, then we want to make sure that we throw in unauthorized. And then finally, we're going to create a new author, a new refresh token. So we'll just do the same thing that we did over here, which probably should, now that I'm repeating code, we should probably put this into its own custom function. The entire generate user should probably be in its own, but let's break this up into two. Let's put you into our helpers, and we have a user helper. Get user from request static. We'll call it generate refresh token. Generate, refresh token. And it's going to accept a user ID and a user email. And it's going to do the following. And I guess we should send in the wait JWT service And let's just send in the JWT service of type JWT service. Wait. I need to make you asynchronous static request. Yep. Let's do a couple of things here. I notice you're not arrow functions, so we can clean that up. And we'll make you arrow functions, so we can make you, we could before, but we'll just do this as well. And then there's the refresh token. There's a lot of stuff on screen. Let's open up some space here. So let's move you over. And you're going to be just user ID and user email. Now they're used. And instead of a wait here, you're just going to return. Generate refresh token. So that will generate our refresh token. And so we can now just say const refresh token is going to be equal to user helpers dot generate refresh token this dot JWT service user dot email and user dot ID, and you're going to be in a wait. Yeah, there we go. So there's our refresh token. We could come up with one for static generate JWT token. And it's going to be asynchronous as well. And it's going to do the same thing, except all we need is the JWT service. JWT service, and then the user ID. And let's make you a proper arrow function. Cool. User ID is going to be a string. And you should be returning a promise of type string. And you're also going to be returning a promise of type string. Promise string. And we'll just copy you, paste you. It's going to be user ID in here. There's no this, it's just a wait. And instead of this, we'll do return. So that'll clean you up. Const token is going to be user helpers dot generate AWT token, this dot JWT service, and user dot ID. So there's our token and our expiration. And then the only thing that we really care about after this is generating the expiration date. But that's a two-liner. We can still put it in here. But now that you're here, oh, I need to put an await in here. We could actually take the entire thing and put you over here in the user helper. So let's do that. Do we really need to, though? We really only use it here. It's already broken off into its own function. The only reason that we're pulling it over here, but we do need user. These could all be smaller functions. Yeah, let's go back over here to our server. So let's generate a new token. So let's see. Let's do this. Const token is going to be await user helpers dot generate the JWT token, this dot JWT service, and it's going to be the user ID that the person sent in. And then we'll do the refresh token. Const refresh token. This is going to be equal to user helpers dot generate refresh token, this dot JWT service. What is it? User email and user ID. And let's double check that. Oh, it's supposed to be user ID, user email. User ID, user email. So user ID, user email, user ID. So it's supposed to be user ID, user email, because order matters. And then finally the expiration date, which is the same. So we're repeating ourselves, and we might want to nip that in the bud. Put our comments back in the right spot. And then finally, we have to return new update refresh token, which, what is our update refresh token? JWT. So let's put you over here, which consists of new JWT. Let's return return the JWT, which is going to be token. And we could probably refresh token and token expiration, which is the expiration date. What are you grumpy about? Token, const token, your string. Oh, I see. Let's call you JWT instead. New JWT. Let's call you new refresh token. And cool. All right. What are we grumpy about? Do we have anything that we're grumpy about? What? Nope, we're not grumpy about anything. Our user service, we're repeating though, so let's come over here to our user helpers. Generate auth models. I don't think we have anything that we're grumpy about. Let's just double check our logic though. Let's close everything. Close all the other tabs. Close all the things. So we have our refresh token. We get it. Verify that the user is there. Awesome. Okay. I don't think that I'm forgetting anything. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and run it. There are a couple things that I'm going to have to update, but I'm not too worried about them right now. I'll put it on my list of things to tackle. We have done the refresh details, and I created a moderate walkthrough for what it's supposed to look like. So The first time login, we'll present the user with the user profile question. We'll show the trades, so forth and so on. And we still have the reports. Oh yes, there is one thing. I needed to modify the model. So I thought about this, and though I don't have to do the calculations now, I thought from a number standpoint, though it'll take a small amount of time, for each individual trade, we could add in the total, whether that's positive or negative. So once a person puts in the quantity, it's the quantity, the sell price, and the buy price. We'll add in a trade total that it will calculate for us. And that's simply going to be the quantity times the buy price, and the quantity times the sell price. And what we want is because we want to always sell high, buy low. So it's always going to be the quantity times the sell price minus the quantity times the buy price. So let's come over here to our trade service. And before we do this, when we do a create trade, let's do the calculations and do the total calculation. And we'll probably move this into a private function, but for now, actually might as well. Let's do private calculate total, and you are going to be of a type, and you're going to accept what, a new trade? Yeah, of type new trade, because we're only going to do it when we create and edit. That's the only time we're going to do it. So in both cases we'll have that, and then what we're going to do is we can make it, and we'll probably make it a one-liner down the road, but we'll say const the buy price, total buy price is going to be equal to new trade dot buy price times new trade dot quantity, const total sell price is going to be equal to new trade dot sell price times new trade dot quantity. And so one of the things that people do sometimes, and this doesn't calculate for it, is to buy and sell in pieces. But I think the better approach for that is to treat those as separate individual trades. So if you bought 2 and then you bought 4 more at a later date, when you sell, you're going to treat 2 of the 6 in total. So you bought 2. You bought 2 on one date. We'll call this date 1. And then you buy 4 more on date 2. And then when you sell all 6, you're going to say you sold 2 on date 3, and then you sold 4 on date 3. So that's the way that we'll treat that going forward. So we'll just simply return total sell price minus total buy price. That does mean that some people will have some negative, what is it? Trade total is going to be this dot calculate total of the new trade. And we'll do the same thing down here in edit. And we'll say new trade when we do an update. Curly bracket. Ooh, it occurs to me that the trade.update new trade new trade trade total oops, there we go. Object literal update object literal may only specify properties. Do I need to do a dot dot dot? No, we didn't do it up here. Values dot 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 trade total values dot 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 trade totals trade new trade model. Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. That's why. I need to go on the trade total over here and create it. Oh, I did already. Ha. What? Yes, you do. You totally exist. On type trade is an option. Oh, I messed up on that. See, this is why we do these things. It helps you catch those bugs. I should put in some unit test for that. It would have caught that. Create, I'll put this over in my notes, create unit tests to validate return types. Because that it should have caught that, and I should have caught that, but I didn't. But I'm glad that we kind of went ahead and did this. Let's double check every other place we're using this. Cool. At least we've checked it in this file. Let's go ahead and check everywhere else, because, you know, why not? You're using broker, which is fine. You're using, hold on a second, journal, cool. Option, cool. Trade, cool. And then lastly, user profile. All right, so we verified that we didn't fuck up anything else. Let's see, user service, auth models, trade total has been calculated for. Let's clean out our database because it's easier to do that right now. Though I did do some migration scripts before. Oh, it's empty. Cool. I did do some migration scripts before, though it can be a bit of a pain. So let's go ahead and run this npm run, and let's see if we can get a tune out of this trombone. Npm run start dev. Npm run start dev. And the thing that we're testing, the thing that we are testing is making sure that we put in our auth module, because I forgot to do that. So there's our auth module, and let's go ahead and go to our app module. We did remember user. Let's just verify everything. So we don't have the auth module yet, so let's add that in here. Auth. We don't have broker either. Broker. The EOH API. There's our EOD HD module. Exchanges module. Where was I? Our journal module. Options module. Stocks module. Trade module. user module. And we're missing our user profile module. Glad I checked all of this stuff. Let's see how we like it. Terminal. Ooh, looks like I messed some things up. Can't resolve dependencies of auth service, JWT service. Oh, I know what I forgot. So here in the user module, you need to, wait, no, I don't see it. User service, let's double check something. JWT. I don't see anything here. So let's come back up here to our auth module. Don't see it here. I wonder if we need to import the JWT module in here as well. Oh, no. Is a valid nest module. User service, if user service exported from a module, is that module, did I forget something? I forgot something, I totally did. So let's double check our each EOD. We import, we export. So then for the user service, we, the wrong spot, we don't export it. That was the problem, and then I don't think we need to in our module up here. Module, I don't think we need this anymore. Yep, we're good. So, let's go ahead and run some quick insomnia tests and see where we go from here. Oh, insomnia, wherefore art thou, insomnia? Maybe it'll load one day, someday. But it looks like we got most of our endpoints working. Awesome. So let's try to register a user first. Ooh, that's no good. Let's take a look and see what happened. Of the environment file, user helpers. I wonder. Let's take a look. Let's see. Oh, I see. An import config from, oh, I see. So in the user helpers, we need to import config. Well, let's bring it back. And then I guess we need to say inside here, we need to say config. Import config. Let's try that again. Send. Okay. Well, that's a failure on my part. Let's go ahead and clean that up. Let's go over here to our option tracker. Let's refresh all our tables. Let's go over here to our users table. And there's our password, which is encrypted. Yay for encryption. Let's delete our row. Now let's try Insomnia again. We still are generating an internal service error. So let's take a look at why. So you are still unable to read. I think it is because you are outside. Let's see. Read environmental variables in static function. Let's see. Looks like somebody else has tackled it as well. Yep. Yep, no one's tackled it. Use factory config. It's not read in. I see. We're not looking to do that. We're already reading it there. How do we want to handle you? I guess we could just import .env. Didn't we do this? Config module for root. Let's take a look at that, because I could have swore that I said JWT register for root. Nope, I didn't say is global is true. For root is global true. Now let's see. Let's do it a bunch of times and let's just use another test. Nope. Same problem. Is global. I see. Let's see. Maybe this one. Someone has an answer here. .env. I see. Answers. I see. Just import. I see. So let's see if we can just import directly into the file and then process. What? Let's try that again. Oh, my goodness, it's because it imported process. I didn't even notice. It was sitting at the top, and I didn't even notice. All right. So there's our token expiration and our refresh token. And what I really want to just test is my refresh endpoint. So let's create a new request. Refresh token test. And we'll continue to use localhost 3000. And the endpoint, I believe I called it auth. Clear all these notifications. I believe I called you auth. I did. It's public. And it's the default. And the body that we're going to send back is going to be JSON, and it's going to consist of a token called refresh token. And let's send back this. And this. I cannot find auth. Well, that's terrible news. Let's test. User register auth post. Yes, internal service area. So I think this is going to be the same thing. Yep. I don't know why it can't read process. So let's try that again. Unauthorized. Ooh. Let's try the login and see if we get a good refresh token. Got that. Let's try that again. Put you here. Send. Nope. Unauthorized. So let's run a test. Verify async. Console.log. Let's payload you. There's this weird back and forth while I have to do this, isn't it? Yeah. Yep. User wait, hold on. Hold on. Where's the user ID? Wait a second. Wait a second. I think there's a problem. There is. So when we generate the refresh token, it's supposed to be the user ID and the user email. But we're not getting that. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Let's come over here to our user service. Payload. User email. IAT expiration. Okay. Can we not have a big payload? That sounds kind of dirty. Let's come back over here. And we have user email. Let's see. What if we just did user ID? I know. You're going to be grumpy about that. So let's try this again. Log in and grab you. Come over here. Paste. Send. And terminal. No. Where is my user ID? Something's off. Let's double check all the places that we use you. Refresh token should be user ID, user E. Hold on a moment. Let's move you out. So let's go over here, move you here. You should be sending the JWT service, right? The user ID and the user email. Okay. We have that in the auth service, which is fine. Let's come over here to this. We have the user.id. Wait a second. Let's go take a look at my user object. There's the problem. I'm not paying attention to my variables. It should be user.userid and user.userid. I was probably missing that this whole time, and it was gonna fuck me up later on. I'm telling you, like, these are the types of things you miss. Okay, so we have our refresh token with the proper user ID, not some terrible user ID. So that means now when we create our refresh token, we should get a valid user ID, which we then can authorize. And I don't know how I would have been able to test that. I got to think of that. These are some of the scenarios that, like, I think you need to kind of look back and think upon when you're a developer. Like, how can you fix, when you find a bug, what can you do to help reduce that? Because I would not have known that it wasn't a valid user ID unless I decoded it. Let me think about that. Let's come back over here to Insomnia. Let's log in again. There we go, a much bigger refresh token. So then when we come over here to this, and we send it, there we go. We got a new token expiration, we got a new JWT. So this service does work correctly. And this is why I think you got to kind of spend some time. You don't want to just assume that just because we wrote unit tests that everything works perfectly. Where are we? Authorization controller. No. We're on the service here, and what we had done was we had put in a console log. Yeah, there we go. But at least we've verified that our code works on that aspect. It should have given us an unauthorized user, which is valid. Yeah, no. So I think we're good here. Yeah. So I think we're ready to kind of start on the front end. Now I'm not using nestjs. I'm not to say that you can't or that you shouldn't. I'm just not using it. And so let's go ahead and take a quick look at our package.json. We concurrently are starting the back end, and we're concurrently starting the front end. So let's stop everything for now. Let's add everything, and let's start on the front end. Now I'm going to use the React router, and we're going to implement authorization. But here's the question is, do we want to use Redux? I think that that's going to be the best approach. React authorization with Redux. So there's some pretty good tutorials over there. And we'll use Redux Toolkit. I'm a fairly big fan of it. So let's take a look and see. Now we do need Redux Toolkit, and I don't think I have it installed. So let's go over to our front end and install some things. npm I. Wait, hold on. Let's see where the actual, as I haven't. What is Redux Toolkit? Not helpful. I just want the actual npm. Grab you. Get started. There it is. Why don't we do the bindings? Let's do both. So we'll come over here and we need npm I at redux.js/toolkit. I keep really misspelling that and saying toolkit, toolkit, rather than toolkit. Let's install React Redux as well. I think React automatically comes with React Router. React Router authenticated routes. And so this is now a thing. And I don't think we have a React Router DOM installed, so let's go ahead and grab that too. npm install React Router DOM. Yep, there we go. And I don't deal with, one of the downsides I think that many people run into is once you've been in the field for a while, you don't always get a chance, not to say that you never do, you just don't always get a chance to start applications completely from scratch. So this is kind of a fun challenge for many people, is that you kind of can sit down and be like, oh, I don't get to do this every day. I'll use React and I work with React all the time, but I don't sit down and I very rarely create new routes all the time. The things that I'm working on or the application that I'm working on are pretty big. And at this particular point, we're not generating new endpoints. We're generating a lot of logic that's kind of much deeper inside the application. So we're talking about, processing data from the API, handling that, creating dynamic content based upon that, displaying that information to the user. All of that was already there, and what I'm doing is customizing it afterwards and then adjusting things like, how the backend responds, how the middle layer responds, but there are no endpoints that I, ever really need to touch, or, router endpoints that I ever need to touch. So that's one of the things that I must admit is nice to see, or nice to try and kind of play around with. Looks like someone's messaging me. Let's take a look and see what's going on. See. Let's see. So yeah, somebody's reaching out to me. I do tutoring, and I end up helping a lot of people, or helping a few people. I don't want to say a lot. But anyway, so we have a couple things to kind of start tackling and getting down. Let's go ahead and make sure that we probably want to set up our Redux first, and then our router. So let's go ahead and get our Redux toolkit set up. And we're going to configure a couple different stores. So I think eventually the idea will be to expand the idea will be to expand. Well, there's going to be a couple things. I think we should keep once a person loads in, we should keep the brokers. So let's write some of this down so that we're not just spitballing stuff and then don't remember it. So we have our refresh details. We've already implemented the refresh token. We don't need you anymore. Let's write down, though, some of the things on the front end that we want to do. And we've implemented the refresh token. But we haven't implemented this piece yet. So let's go ahead and poke at the front end. So first of all, what we installed was we did the React Redux, and very specifically Redux Toolkit. And then we did the React Router. Now, so that's that. But let's talk about the Redux pieces that we run. We want to keep handy all the brokers that the person used. Just keep handy all the brokers. That way someone can very quickly have to do it without making any calls to the back end. So we'll make the call to the front end. So one of the things that we also want to do is an onload or an on login process where we will just take note every time we add. So we'll get users brokers. Now one of the things we haven't done and we will do is we're going to add a list of kind of favorites. So one of the things that I need to incorporate, and I haven't, is a favorites. And I think, let me double check something real quick before I get too far ahead of myself, because I'll forget otherwise, is let me make sure that on my back end, I've created all the things that I said. So I have my user, it's there, my journal, there. And let's go in order. So do we have a broker? We do. We have exchanges. Ooh, we don't have exchanges written. So let's add that to our documentation. We thought about it, but I never actually, and I implemented it. So let's go ahead and look at all of that. So where was I? All right. So we have our exchanges, and we'll look at our exchanges model real quick. So we have the what do we want to call it? It's going to have a ID, code, which is a string, and we did the same thing up here for. Oh, we don't even have stock as a table. We got to fix that. All right. So an int, if the code, country ISO2. And we don't need all of this stuff. It's just it gave it to us, so I figured that maybe down the road we might need it, so might as well keep it. The exchanges table is pretty small anyway. Currency, name, and same thing with the operating MIC. Then one of the other things that we did not actually write into our documentation, we do have guards and helpers. We're not worried about that. We do have journal. Metadata, we do have options. We are missing stocks. and we'll come back to that in a moment. We do have trade. We do have user. And we do have user profile. So let's go ahead and create the documentation for the stocks table, and we'll go ahead and put you here. So it's going to have an ID int. And I'm not keeping the IDs for these tables because the tables will get recreated when a person on certain conditions, and I won't let just random people do it. I think it'll be controlled, but I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work because I don't want people just to constantly hit the refresh button, but I also want people to be able to access there. So I think periodically, like every so many days, we'll just go ahead and get that. But anyway, stocks, I'm going to have a country, currency, an exchange, stock name, stock type. I call it the ticker symbol. And okay, cool, done. And eventually we're going to allow for favorites. And favorites are going to have a favorite ID. And we're going to have a user ID. And we're going to have a ticker symbol that the person, of course, likes. And that'll be it. And every time they delete one, we'll delete one. We won't keep it as logic. So the Redux pieces, now that we know that eventually we're going to have favorites, let's keep the person's favorites as their own. So we'll have that. Get users brokers, get users favorites. Cool. So what else do we want to keep? We probably want to keep a list of the stocks, even though there are a few. And we want to keep them so we're not reaching out to the database. We'll just keep a huge list of them. There are, last time I checked, let's do a quick looky. We have to hit up the endpoint, don't we? Let's log in. Oh, hold on a second. I have to restart everything. Look at me, being terrible. So let's go ahead and start up everything. And let's log in and get our list of stocks. So let's log in and refresh our stocks. It takes a few minutes, but that's about it. Then come over here to our database, and here's all of our stocks. There are only 50,000 stocks. And again, that's a lot to kind of keep hanging out in the front end, but it does mean that we can very quickly find them. I guess we could do a lookup, but like, why? It's not 50,000 records isn't terrible. And we should probably kind of keep a handle on what data we keep in the front end. So let's take a moment and do that. So on the front end, we don't want to keep we want to keep the full broker model. The full broker model is fine. It's kind of small. For the stock model is kind of small. Yeah, because then someone can search by currency, exchange, the stock name, or the ticker symbol. We'll just keep it. It's not so terrible. And I guess let's take a quick look at, let's see if we can find diagnostics. I don't know if there's a way to tell us. I'm sure somebody knows of a way, but I don't, to get the size of this table. But I don't, and I'm not too worried about it at the moment. We'll keep all the brokers handy. We'll just say complete model. We'll keep the complete model. Favorites, complete model. And this docs, complete model. So then what else do we want to keep handy? We want to have a user. And we'll keep in here the complete model that we return, which includes the Redux pieces, etc. And then that will be it. So when they log in, of course, we'll get the user. We'll just put it here. We'll get the user's brokers, favorite, etc. So all right, so where was I? We're going to get the user. We'll get their list of brokers, their favorites, all the stocks. We'll swap you out so that we're at the top. And that's kind of where we'll start. We won't get all of the users' trades. We will probably get their most recent trades, maybe, but I don't know. We'll probably think about maybe down the road implementing most recent trades and options. And that way, if someone wants to be like, would you like to repeat this same option again, you can, and it'll just be handy and available. We're not going to keep track of our journal entries in Redux or anything along those lines. We'll just pull those up as we need to. So I think we kind of have a starting point, but let's kind of we got what's 9:38. Let's go until about 9:55 in terms of coding, and then kind of go from there. So let's stop our terminal for right now. Let's go to the front end. That's weird. Did I misspell it? All right. Let's go to the front end for now. We've installed Redux. We've installed Redux Toolkit. Let's close these out. Close out you. And let's do some implementation of our Redux Toolkit. So let's come over here. We want to create a store. And let's take a look. The ducks pattern. Huh. Create slice. Huh. I know the general pieces of Redux. But I've never... I don't know if we really want to use Redux Saga. And I don't know if we necessarily need to use Redux Saga with that. Let's take a look. It's alright. It's alright. This is alright. Well, let's keep you open, and then Redux JWT authentication. Let's look at you. Let's look at Jason Watmore's example. All right. So we have our store here, and components helper. Okay, so let's look at his file structure. All right, so yeah, this is what I want to see. I want to see what you look like. So let's go ahead and I like that. So I'm going to mimic that structure on my front end over here. Let's create our new file, new directory. Let's put our store here. And I like this structure. So we know that we're going to need a couple different slices. So here's his. So we'll do a base, what is it, index? Yeah, index users auth. So let's do an index.js. We're going to mimic his. We already went over this. We want a... Oh, by the way, the 5 minutes at the end is for me to add to the documentation so I don't get behind. Just little incremental steps that are just always weirdly important. So we have the users. And what we really want is just user, reducer, and it's going to be user slice. And then what we're going to have are a couple other slices. So we're going to have a broker's slice.js. And I'm not using TypeScript with this. I could. I totally could. And then we need a brokers stocks .slice.js. And let's take a look at the auth slice. Log out, create, extract actions. His auth slice isn't bad. It handles the login and it parses. So what's the difference between that and, let's take a look. What's the difference between that and the user slice? Let's open these up in some other windows. So we have the users slice and the auth slice. So this is the, okay, that didn't work. Let's open up the same thing in a couple other tabs and see. So first, let's look at the users slice. And there's the users. Now this particular person has multiple users, but we want a separate. I guess my user slice is going to be the same as his auth slice. So if we come back down here and look for, let's do a quick find for, come on, auth.slice. There it is. Let's take a look. The auth slice manages Redux state and actions for authentication. So we're going to get a user. I'm probably going to switch it over to user rather than auth. And the okay, fetch history. So we're going to have a initial state user. I see, it's not bad. And then we'll create our reducers when they log out. and then create extra actions. React app API URL. I see. Users. Return login. Function login. Fetch wrapper dot post. We authenticate, and then when we log in, var from extra actions. I see. Let's take a look at this whole thing, because there's a lot of pieces in here that I am missing. Because this is the user one. Where's these extra actions coming in? Let's see. Let's take a look at the whole thing, because I feel like there's pieces that I'm just missing. Let's see if he has this anywhere. GitHub. Cool. So let's look at the source folder. Store. Auth slice. There's the helpers. Create extra reducers. Extra actions. Dot login. Dot extra actions. Helpers. History. Home. Login. They've kept it pretty simple. I see. All right. So let's come back over here to the extra auth. So slice.actions, auth actions, slice.reducers. So they log in pending store the user details in database token storage and local storage, which is fine. Get return URL from location state. Action.error. Maybe it's not bad. Let's see. Login. So create extra actions. So we log the person in. So let's take a look at the login.jsx. So we use dispatch, use selector, auth error. I see. If they're authorized, we navigate to slash. Fine. Validate schema. That's fine. Auth error. There's the authorization error. Register. Dot password. Dot register. Dot register. Dot register. There it is. It's from use form. Oh, from React hook form. Oh, I see. Let's take a look at that. React hook form and see. Oh, I see. Yep. Let's take. Oh, I see. It's a whole library. So. Yep. So there's a whole library that allows you to create it, apply validation. All right. That helps me clear things up. I was like, what? Where's this coming from? There's so many. This is both the good and the bad side. Yup, resolver. Where do you come from at hook form resolvers? I see. All right. So username, password. All right. That's not bad. I don't disagree with it. I don't know if I feel that strongly about using React forms or not. I don't know if I feel that strongly about it. Let's take a look at what it looks like. Here's a sandbox. Submit query. Not bad. Let's take a look at what it looks like. I see. So we put in register example default value test. There is no default value right now, but I guess we could put in a, oh, I gotta sign in to edit. Errors, this field is required. Errors.example required. I see. Not bad. I think I will give it a try. I don't see a reason why not to use React hook forms. I can always create my own, but again, for speed, there doesn't seem to be a reason not to use it. So let's go back to here, yeah, and take a look. I do like the way that he's laid out his authorization slice. Oh, that's what I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at from the login form how he actually handles the login. So when they submit, is submitting and when they do that, handle on submit auth actions.login. I see. And then what we do is if auth user, oh, I see. We get the user from X uSelector X.auth. So that means we get it from all of them, and we get it from auth.user. I see. And let's come back over here to our store, and we say, there's our slice. Oh, there's an error of null. So yeah, once we get that, we store the whole thing. So then every time we then, what happens when we want to get something else? When we get to our home page, if they're logged in, that's fine. And then we'll have to look at how we get other information, because I think we're going to want to create kind of a universal request that attaches in our auth information. But we can at least start. So I like the way that he's done the auth here. Create async thunk. We'll have that. Fetch wrapper. And then what are we doing with history then? Oh, I see. History.location. We're setting the history if we want to redirect from the location state or default to home page. So history.location.state. I don't think we really need to worry about that. So if the person, since it's going to be we won't actually use a modile. Why is this? So one of the things that you run into with mobile development is that if you're creating kind of a universal site that you're hoping for people to be able to visit on both mobile and on the web, you want to try to not do mobiles unless you're certain that you can make it mobile friendly, which requires a lot more coding. So for ease, we'll create and break this up into separate logins. So if you fail to log in, you just fail to log in. But we might need it down the road. So let's put a pause on this. Let's grab this as an example. I like where it's going. We've gotten some libraries installed, and let's save this. We'll save this as an example of how we're going to move forward with our Redux toolkit. And we'll also take a look at the React hook form. We'll save that as a note for our pieces. And we'll say that we're going to use it here in our in our demo, in our notes. So let's take a pause there. Come over here to our WebStorm. File. Well, it's just going to be user.slice.js. Add. All right, we got a bunch of stuff done on the back end, less done on the front end. I'm a little bit slower on the front end, I would say, than on the back end. But that's because I have kind of like back end can be a little bit looser per se, and it's a little bit more repetitive. So, excuse me. So let's go with this. Let's go ahead and add in all the pieces. Redux toolkit, React Redux, and React Router DOM, and React Hook Form. And then let's make sure that we link them all correctly and update our documentation. So let's come over here and look at React Redux. So we have you. And put in Redux toolkit. I'll put you here. Let's make sure we link Bootstrap. Because I think I've already installed Bootstrap. But I'll double check in a moment. I might not have. Let's double check front end to tell us the news. Yep. Bootstrap. Font Awesome has already been installed as well. Put in React Bootstrap. There it is. Let's double check that. Yep, React Bootstrap and Bootstrap. Cool, cool, cool. It's called React Bootstrap though, not Bootstrap. I'll put you here. And React Font Awesome is. Let's do the U. React Router DOM. React Router DOM homepage. We'll put you in. And then finally React Hook Forms. And one day these links will go away. One day all of this will go away. So let's actually put a link to React because I don't have one. Let's put you up here. And let's put a link to nestjs up here. This time I assumed that people had it, but I should actually put the links. Cool. So there's that. And let's put in finally our last tables. Refresh tokens. Let's put in a link to this guy's article on Redux. Redux authorization auth example. Put a link to you. Like, try to remember to, when you're doing open source projects, don't forget to put links to the people who helped you out and the documentation that you find so that you're not kind of being a dick about things. Remember to be helpful and kind to other people. Break, and we have 2 tables that we need to put in. Those 2 tables are exchanges and stocks. We haven't done favorites yet. So we'll just copy what you have here, or what I have here. Oh, there's somebody else here. Um, how should you may have to. But um, sorry, I'm just somebody asked me about Cognito. And Cognito, like OAuth and so many others, great services. It's just they can be complicated to implement because again, it's kind of a back and forth thing. And I think many beginning developers get really excited about it, and I don't think they really understand the complications of it. But you know, everyone's perfectly allowed to do whatever it is that they want to do. I did implement one. I did do stocks. And I did do exchanges. Ah, look at me being an idiot. I do already have this in here. Cool, I've documented this. I don't have to do it again. I haven't done favorites yet though. But I haven't implemented favorites as an endpoint. So I don't have to worry about it yet. Um, but while I'm here and the question is kind of sitting on the back of my head, let's see how one implements Cognito in React. Yeah. Ooh, nope, don't like the Amazon docs. Um, so I see Cognito defaults. Send email with Cognito. Da, 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 da. This is all the AWS. There's just a ton of AWS stuff. And you have to create an environmental file, add the following to it. Yeah, you need the user pool. You authenticate. When the user clicks on the sign up button, run the following code to create a new user. When the user clicks on the login button, run the code below to authenticate the user. Here, authenticate functions and functions defined after succession. I see. Um, All right. I will end the stream there for this evening. Thank you very much for joining me on another Friday. It's 10:06 p.m. This is CptWoozle signing off. I hope everyone has a good evening. I will actually be here on Monday streaming. So I hope everyone has a good Christmas Eve, and I will see you on Christmas Day from 8 to 10 p.m. writing more code. Everyone have a good weekend. Take care and be safe.